Hey everyone, so I thought I'd do an update on my G here. It's been a little while. I've wanted to do a video for a while, but the weather kind of just hasn't been right to do one. So as you can see, I got it all back together. Not quite all of it, but pretty well all of it. I've had some developments on it, some good, some bad. Good is, it's running, it's usable. There's some things that I'm still gonna need to track down or figure out what to do with it. I guess first off, before every time I started it, you would get like coolant sprayed at you, and I thought, well, maybe I had the radiator a little too full or something like that. Well, long story short, the radiator cap was sprung, because this is a pressurized system in these, and whenever I started it, it would throw the fluid up to the top, and it was open to the vent hole, and it would throw it out the front of the radiator, and there's no tube in this one right now, like there's supposed to be an overflow tube. It'd throw it on the front of that radiator, and then the fan would just kick it back. So if you were, standing here starting it or something, it would just give you a little splash. So put a new radiator cap on, and voila, solved that problem. The flywheel oil seal is leaking, even though I have a brand new one on there. Even though I oiled it beforehand, it went on snug. I don't know what to say. So I got another one. I'll take this off, put another one on it, and see if that resolves it, or if the crankshaft is a little worn on that spot or something. I'm not sure. And while I'm doing that, that'll give me another opportunity to mess with another issue I have it run down, is at really high RPMs, like when you've got this thing to the stops, it has a pretty significant vibration. And before anyone comments, yes, the timing is right on it. The flywheel is set right. The clutch driver is set right. There's a guy, a friend of mine, who's very knowledgeable on these John Deeres. I had him come out and we looked this thing over front to back, trying to figure out, if something was off, and just could not find it. So, and it's only at really high RPMs that you feel it. So I'm wondering if it's possible this flywheel just isn't sitting quite right. I mean, it's tight. It's on there. It hasn't moved. It's tight, but I can't tell if when it's sitting here at high RPMs, if it's got a little bit of a shake to it. But it's on the splines. There's not too much clearance for it to be off. But like I said, I got to replace that oil seal anyway, so that'll give me another chance to kind of see if I can sit this thing right, if that even has any effect on it. I still got to get a cap for this. Haven't done that yet, so it kind of shoots out some oil at times. This cap is, like I mentioned in another video, if you had a tachometer, you could add this on afterwards from John Deere. The shaft in this is not the shaft with the slot in it for the tachometer. So I think when this tractor, I think at one point was ran without oil, and they went and replaced nearly everything on it. I think rather than putting in a new bearing race in here, they put this cap on. So I just left that. Maybe I should have changed that when I had that governor off. I don't know. The really unfortunate news is in the head. So if you remember when we had it apart, I had a guy that looked at it. We never pressure tested it, but he did a visual and everything on it. And there was an area in between the two valves on the right cylinder that I can't remember if you put a dye on it even, and we couldn't tell if it was just a visual, like surface crack, or if it went all the way through. But short story is, it is a crack. It is leaking coolant a little bit in that right cylinder. It only does it for a little bit. Like after you shut it off, it'll leak for a little bit. And because I kept running a borescope down it and kept trying to find the leak. And finally I put two and two together that it was that crack, and I found it on a probe. And then it's like after it cools, after the engine cools, it stops leaking, or when the radiator system depressurizes just a little bit, it stops leaking in it. So whenever it starts up, it blows a little smoke. Or or if you run this, get it high RPM, get it warmed up, and then if you just let it sit idle for a few minutes, then it'll just start kind of smoking, pouring in coolant. So I put a can of that Fiberlock in it. That's what was suggested to me. It's like a fiber into the system. I've heard good stories of that stuff, but I think one of the things I'm fighting is, one, the leak is not that bad, so it takes a while for it to get to it. And secondly, like the bottle says, use a whole bottle up to 4 gallons. Well, that's over 12 gallons of coolant in that system. And yes, I said that, over 12 gallons. So it's because originally they didn't have the water pump, so needed a big capacity for the thermal siphon system. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, so everything else seems to be working pretty well. Some videos coming up. At some point, I need to work on the power troll, so I need to replace these. I need to replace the oil seal on the PTO shaft. That's one thing I didn't do. I got 2 new ones from John Deere, so we'll replace those. Because right now, if I put oil in this, it just comes out there. So I want to get these hydraulics working, so maybe I could use it on a V-rake or something like that for hay season coming up. Yeah, otherwise she sounds good. I'll show you guys some more clips here, taking it for a drive on another day. And yeah, I'm really disappointed about that head. We'll just see if it kind of resolves itself with that Fiberlock stuff or not. I'm not tearing it apart right now. I'm not getting a new head for it just because really don't want to do that, and don't want to spend that money right now. But eventually I'll make it right, and of course I wouldn't sell it like that. Yeah, so sorry it's been so long. I hope to do some more videos, but I know like with this nearly complete, the number of projects I have are few in number. I also have the hydraulic cylinder for these, like a true 2-cylinder. I think I have ones that were for the A size, like what they came with the plow back in the day and things. I've got a couple of those. I want to tear those apart and get a couple of those working, so I hope to do a series on that. My A, I've got the carburetor sent off to be rebuilt on that. And on my B, I'm still waiting on the sheet metal to get done by someone else on that. So yeah, so here she sits. She's no pretty thing, but she runs okay. It's nice being able to drive around in high gear on this, unlike my A that is max speed 6 miles an hour. It's nice to be able to do at least 12. The only thing is you just got a feeder. If you guys don't know the history on the G, it was originally going to be called the Model F. Hence, all of the part numbers will have an F in them and not a G. They got rid of the F in order to not confuse itself with the Farmall F-Series, like the F20 and such. And they went to G. And my personal opinion, and this is totally unfounded, but they call it the G because it's a gas hog. G is for gas hog. This thing will burn through gas like you cannot imagine. It's amazing. Those 2 cylinders, they will just eat. You shut that fuel off at the sediment bowl, and it does not take long, and it runs out. So yeah. So yeah, sorry, there's not too much to report here. Like I said, I'll see what I do moving forward. If you guys have any questions or want to see something, reach out. I like answering your guys' questions when they come up, or see what experiences you guys have. And enjoy these last few clips, and y'all have a good day.